My name is Lee Sylvester. I'm in Colorado in the United States, 49, almost 50. I have been a gamer most of my life. I use my left hand. I have cerebral palsy, mild on my right side. So I've been a one-handed gamer. And, when I was young, I could actually use all the buttons. And as time changed and there became more complicated controllers, I began to lose functionality of being able to do everything and keeping up with my friends. And then so over time, I've utilized a lot of different tools, and definitely, the Proteus Controller has been a very valuable tool in that toolbox.
Okay, so this is FX Pinball on Steam. The way that I have this controller set up is once I'm in the game, I can navigate completely using the controller, including selecting what table I want. So for this particular purpose, we're going to do Creature from the Blue Lagoon. So once I've selected that, I can select a new game. And we're going, once it's loaded up, you can see the different control buttons to start the game. And the D&D is on the top screen. So we're going to hit play. And the way I have the controller set up is the plunger is the right analog stick, so you can see that I'm able to adjust it to whatever strength I want. And then shoot the ball. And then I have the left and right flippers set up as one buttons so that I can pick the shot that I want. So, shooting that. And then I also have the nudge set up, so you can see I can bounce the ball a little bit. And that would be true for the table if I'm trying to make sure the ball doesn't drain. I could use the same stick. And I can bounce it over between the flippers because of the preciseness of the controller. And then shoot the shot that I want. And I'm set up, because of the way it's set up, to be able to do this in an ongoing way. Now, in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and drain the ball because I want to show you that also in some games you need to be able to hit buttons really fast, and in this case it gives you some extra points for doing so.
I was able to come up with the setup that I shared with you. And one of the things that was important for me, and I think maybe often for one-handed gamers, is because we maybe overuse our side too much, is the trigger point. So this part of it, the reason I have that here is to allow for a rest on the controller, but also allowing for it to be flexible with movement and not necessarily tied to being on the ground. So that's why that kind of piece is there. And so from functionality, I'd love to see some 3D parts that are a little more built for maybe kind of resting like that, but it works for what I need. And also I wanted to give the functionality for the pinball piece of it with having like a plunger, which is why you have the right analog stick there to be able to pull as a plunger, and then using the left as a trigger. And the other reason that I kind of came up with the setup I did was, if you can see, if I'm using this, and it's kind of hard to show necessarily here, but is this allows for having access to both analog sticks and buttons. And if I needed to change the setup for a different, like if getting into role-playing games or getting back into sports games, I probably wouldn't overtly need to change the setup, just the button configuration. So for pinball, having left and right flippers here is valuable, but maybe I want to put, the letter pads up top so that they can then be adjusted here, but then having the left and right trigger buttons that are reachable. If I'm holding this like this, I can just flip over to them without really losing my ability to come off the controls. So that's kind of how I ended up with the setup I did. And also, since I generally tend to sit like I was showing you, like with it on my leg rather than being on a flat surface where I'm like just plopping it down, which I know a lot of people may do. Immediately, it's really good for adaptive controls, but I can see as the functionality is getting better, that I can see just gamers being like, hey, having these adjustments or being able to swap this because of a specific game so I can put this closer to the fingers I use is going to be really valuable as just a controller in general in the broader market. When I was younger, I played a lot of sports games like Madden. Went into a lot of racing games because they were more limited with controls. Video pinball, which was something that was frustrating as a kid not being able to play because it had limited buttons. You know, there were 4 or 5 things that you had to do. And so that's been kind of where I've landed right now, but I'm excited to be able to kind of maybe explore more of the more complicated games now that I have a tool that can accommodate that. But, you know, I've been using, you know, adaptive controllers for a long time. So I've always been kind of at the cutting edge of what was out there. And so was one of the people that was one of the first batches to get through because I really wanted to kind of see what you guys were doing. I professionally work with individuals that have intellectual and developmental disabilities and have been an advocate in the field. And so, you know, a lot of things we talk about with people with disabilities is meaning making supports. And I just want to say, I think this tool is one of those things is allowing people access to being able to do things. So I'm excited, not just for myself, but for the broader community that it can help access and being part of that. So.